When our board of trustees stood up here this morning, I think how far we've come. We started our meetings in the beginning of March 2020. As Shelley was saying, it's 2020. Yes, we've dealt with that. We had a 2-hour meeting every week. We never fell into disbelief. Every meeting, and as Randy, you ended with this, I believe, started in gratitude, was filled with expectation, and ended in joy. We didn't spiritually bypass and say everything's perfect and wonderful, and so let's just know, God's got this, we don't have to do anything. We all did our part, but we never stopped believing. And no matter how hard things have gotten this year, and they've been pretty tough, I never have forgotten the power of these 10 people, me and Kirk and two of those, but that have gotten together every week and held our community together. I believe in the power of good. And that's what we created. We created a belief that carried us through and is continuing to carry us through, that we can keep this community together and still vision what it's going to be like in 2021. Is there anyone here that doesn't want 2021 to come, a time of repair, renewal, recreation, all these ideas that can come to us about what's going to happen if we believe? You see, spiritual power, which is everywhere present all the time. All we have right now is all we ever need if we just believe in it. Spiritual power works through us at our level of belief. So if we believe there's a power for good in the universe and we can use it, it's there all the time and it's greater than we are, then we can use it. But if our doubts settle in, which, believe me, our doubts settle in. We're human beings, so we're not expected not to have doubts and fears and worries. But, my friends, if we give nourishment to the doubts and the fears and the worries, if we feed the fear of tomorrow not being better than today, or the regrets of the past, what are we feeding? We're feeding the things we don't really want in our life. But if we stop feeding them with our energy and our focus and our consciousness, we're going to start creating something better. Start creating something more. I can't even say the words I believe without two things happening. One, I remember my mom's favorite song, I Believe by Perry Como. I don't know if it was by him, but he sang it. And I looked it up, and it was the first televised #1 song on TV. And it was written because World War II had just passed, and it was the start of the Korean War. And I can't remember who had asked for it to be written, but write us a song that will help people get through this time. And it starts out, I believe in every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. That's what we talk about, believing in the possibilities. Even when it's raining, we know there's good and there's growth that's happening. Even during a pandemic, we know there's something wonderful that wants to emerge and come forth, and we get to do that as we focus at this very potent time of a new year. There's something about years, like birthdays. We always celebrate birthdays because birthdays are cyclical and it's a time for amazing things to happen. The same with a new year, a calendar year. It's a time for us to set our intentions of what beliefs we want to take into this new year to create a time of repair, renewal, and nourishment for all that is good and right and true. So that song, I Believe, always runs through my head. And the other thing I remember when I think of I Believe is this story, the elephant parable, the elephant and the rope parable. And I know we've all heard this, but it's amazing. It starts off with a man that's just walking. I don't know where he was to walk by a bunch of elephants, but that's how the parable goes. He's walking by and there's a bunch of elephants. And they're all just standing there, big, majestic animals, strong and powerful animals, just standing there with a little rope tied around their front foot. And the man stops and he's confused. He's thinking, these elephants could break this rope at any time, but they're just standing there, all of them. And he looks around, he sees the trainer, and he goes over and he said, why are these majestic, amazing animals just standing there? They could break these ropes any time. And the trainer said, yes, it's true, they could. But you see, when they were little, that rope was strong enough to hold them in place. It was strong enough. And they'd try to break free and they couldn't. So they planted that belief in their mind. And to this day, these elephants believe they cannot break the rope. The little rope, it wasn't a chain, it wasn't a cage. They couldn't break the rope. And so they stay where they are. What a story for all of us. That when we believe, either when we failed at something once and we believe we could never do it, we never tried it again. Or we believed something someone told us about ourselves, you're not worthy of that, you're not deserving, you can't do that, and we believed it. And instead of tapping into that power, which is there, that potential which we all have, we believe in these old things that aren't true anymore. Does anybody do that? Of course, we all do. We get stuck in the old patterns and forget there's so much more wanting to work through us, because we are amazing manifestors, we are amazing creators, yet we get stuck in these old beliefs. So what limiting beliefs are you chained to? Because we all are. We're on a path of growth and expansion and renewal. So we have these things in our life that we hold on to, that really want to be let go of. You know, our beliefs create our thoughts, and our thoughts create our words. I want to read to you something from Lao Tzu, 2,500 years ago plus. He wrote the Tao Te Ching, the famous spiritual book. He wrote the book, and he said this, which is a brief condensation of that, whatever that word is. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions because they become your habits. Watch your habits because they become your character. And watch your character because it becomes your destiny. Ernest Holmes put it a little more simply when he said, what we believe determines our experiences in life. We can all have the same experience, but what we believe about the experience is going to have meaning to us. So we get to choose about those experiences in our life. Now, for religious scientists, we have declarations of principles that our philosophy, our teaching, our religion is founded on. And there are 10 beliefs. Now, I want to read to you just a couple of them. I'm going to give you homework, in fact. These, I didn't bring my Science of Mind book, but in every Science of Mind magazine. They're always there. Whatever one you have or don't have, it's there. You can look for them online. Ernest Holmes' Declaration of Principles. And each one, there's 11 of them, start with "we believe." And some of the words that they're written in are probably not words we'd speak normally. So I want you to take, I'm going to invite you, if you want to do it once a week or every day for 11 days, take one of the beliefs and put them in your own words. Words that are comfortable to you. And just keep repeating those words. Let that be your belief for the day. The first belief I want to read, it's not the first one listed, but it says, we believe in the ultimate goal of life is a complete freedom from all discord of every nature. That this is the goal attained by everyone. Do you believe that? Honestly, do you believe it? That's a hard one to believe. But it doesn't mean there won't be upsets. It doesn't mean there won't be problems. It doesn't mean there won't be failures. To me, it simply means we will have a greater understanding about the process of life and why things happen to us in our life and what we're to learn from them. There's a divine understanding about things. Next one, it's another hard one to believe. We believe the unity of all life, that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. It is the indwelling presence in everyone and everything. Do you believe that? We might say we believe these, but I want to give you a little test before I read the other two. You want to know what you really believe? You know, we can say, oh, I believe that God is all there is. I believe that we're all one. I believe that life is inherently good. Listen to your words. Listen to what you say. Because so often we start talking before we monitor. When we monitor what we're going to say, then we can say oh yes, I believe that. But if you just start talking, listen to yourself talk. If you're putting yourself down, if you're talking about, those people at work, those people here and there, do you know? You realize that you don't really believe that at a deep, full out level. And it's okay, because we're in the process of growing and becoming. But watch your words. Next, we believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature. We all can do it. Inside all of us, we have a spiritual, intuitive nature. And everyone can become a revealer of truth. Not some people, everyone. Even that guy? Even that girl? Yes, everyone. And the last one is we believe in eternal goodness. You see, it's not the unwillingness of God why we're not feeling and believing in a better world, a better life for us, a better life for others, whatever it is. It's a belief we have in ourselves that keeps us stuck. We don't understand at a greater level. We have to really understand that behind every word we speak is a thought, and behind every thought is a belief. Ernest Holmes said, "My power is my word." He knew. That's why he could do the healings he did. That's what our spiritual mind treatment is all about. We so get in a place of our oneness with God, our oneness with all life, and know that we are all part of this, all one with God. And then we speak our truth to this law, this power. God is love, for sure. We know that. We can feel it. It's just so good. God is love, but also God is law. And the law is it gives back to us what we give into it. It gives us back. That's the laws of cause and effect, of circulation. It's right there. It gives us what we put into it. And it's not just those little yucky thoughts we have once in a while, moaning and groaning and complaining. Not those. It's the sum total of our thoughts, what we believe most of the time we get back. So he knew. He said, Ernest Holmes said he would pray for an hour or 2 hours every morning. Jesus would go into the desert for 40 days when he was feeling he wasn't nurtured or nourished enough, when he wasn't filled enough, connected enough, when he'd been used up. 40 days he'd go in, because the only way we can really get to that intuitive nature, that understanding I was talking about, is when we have quiet, silent communion with life. Silent, quiet communion with life. And that means when you and I stop the chattering of our human mind, when we go to that place, settle in and look with our spiritual eye and look at the spiritual universe, the universe of possibilities and miracles and amazing things, every problem having a solution. We look at it and we see a different aspect of life instead of being stuck in the problem. And we listen with our inner ear. And that's when we can hear the divine harmony, which is peace, that's underneath everything. That's the basis of all life. It's that peace we talk about, the peace that passes understanding. We can't understand it, but it's there. So our inner ear will tell us that. So we listen, we see with our inner eye, we listen with our inner ear. And then what I talked about before, we also have to open our minds to a greater understanding. That's that God is in charge and there's goodness inherent in everything. But we have to take time to do that. If we don't, we're going to be slipping back into the lack of belief and understanding. Jesus also understood the power of his word. He so knew his direct connection with God and goodness that he could create miracles. And the story of Jesus healing the centurion's servant. And a centurion is that Roman soldier that's really awesome and strong and filled up with all the power and has an army of hundreds of men that he commands, and kind of a scary guy if you're just looking at him you don't want to mess with him anyway. And when Jesus came into town, the centurion came up to him and said, "Lord, I need your help. I have a servant at home who is paralyzed and in great distress. And Jesus said, I will come right to your home and I'll cure him. And the centurion said, no, 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 I am not worthy of you being in my home. But I know you can heal him by the power of your word. You see, I too am a man of authority. And when I speak to my soldiers and I say go, they go. When I say come, they come. When I tell a servant, do this, they do it. I believe that your word can heal my servant. And Jesus just stood there for a minute. And he said to his followers, he said, in all of Israel, I have never met anyone with more faith than that centurion. And he told the centurion to go, and it will be done unto you as you believe. And sure enough, in just an hour, the servant was healed. That's the kind of power our word can have when we speak from that place of deep truth. So I'm just going to invite you, two things I've given you today to do, is take what we believe and take each one of those beliefs. We want to start this new year repaired. We want to start it renewed, right? We want to get out of all this stuff that we've been dealing with. So let's start with our belief system, because our beliefs create our thoughts create our words create our actions create our habits, and then our experience of life is going to be all different when we up-level things. But you know what? We need each other too. At our Christmas dinner, what was it, how many days ago? My goodness, it wasn't too long ago. We felt blessed. There were 6 of us at our table, and that's usually what our Christmas dinner is because we don't have a large family. And my daughter's family lives kind of isolated, and the kids have been on Zoom all year. So we sat around the table, and we felt very, very blessed that we were able to be around the table. But I know the hardships that have been there for all of us. And so I asked, okay, Kirk said our prayer, of course, and we had that. And then while we were eating this delicious dinner that everybody prepared, I didn't have to do it, they did, yay. But I said, let's just vision what it's going to be like in 2021. It was a little harder for the kids because one's a senior in high school and one's a freshman. And so we kind of started filling in some things we saw for their lives. And you could just see the smiles on their faces and all that was going on. And then the girls were talking in their life and what we talked about what was going on for them, and the happiness and joy because we were in joyful expectation of goodness that was coming. What a beautiful way it was to be. How blessed I feel for that experience and for the experience of this beautiful community. I want to take time today and just, I'm going to, and since Bill Kramer, you happen to be here today, I'm going to read. Bill writes for a beautiful Catholic magazine, bulletin magazine, whatever you call it, often, and he gives me his work, and it's very beautiful, and I appreciate it. He too loves Sufi mystics. So this was a very, very special, I thought for this time, a way for us to really visualize something greater at work. And so I appreciated all the article too, Bill, but I'm just going to read this one. And you know, when Bill handed it to me, he showed me these beautiful cufflinks he'd had that he'd gotten on their wedding, which they were just celebrating a Thanksgiving anniversary recently, and they were 62 years old. And it broke me out in tears because it's so beautiful. They're so vibrant and alive and young and in love. It's just beautiful. So this is from Hafez. And I want you to think about this, how you'd approach life if this was the way you looked at things. It says, if God invited you to a party and said, everyone in the ballroom tonight, everyone in the ballroom will be my special guest, how would you treat them when they arrived? Indeed, indeed. Hafez knows there is no one in this world who is not upon God's jeweled dance floor. So right where we are right now in this moment, we are standing on a jeweled dance floor. I just ask us to get the belief in what's good and right and true, listen to that spiritual wisdom inside of us, and then act on it. Go out and dance, be joyful, in joyful expectation. Let's close this time right now. Just unwrap your legs and arms, and let's just sit and be receptive to the power and presence of God's infinite good that is here right now in this moment and every moment in its fullness. In this moment, let's just let go, right here, right now, of all the worry, the concern that is built up over this year, and know with the joyful anticipation and expectation that life's goodness is unfolding right now. Healing is taking place. Healing is taking place. Goodness is unfolding. There is beautiful an opening right now, that life is moving in a new and productive way. People are being fed emotionally, spiritually, physically, by God's grace, God's love, God's goodness. It's happening now in our mind's eye, and we see all of this unfolding and manifesting before us as we open the door, as we dance into 2021 on this jeweled dance floor of God's love, that we all are the invited guests of goodness, that we approach this year with a newness and excitement and expectation and gratitude for all that has been, the support, the love we felt, and the gratitude that we've made it through this difficult time, and we are ready. We are prepared. All we have right now is all that we need. We allow it to blossom, unfold, and become a beautiful opening to this year, right now, right here, in this moment. We open our hearts and minds to God's ever-expanding goodness. It feels good. It is good. We are good. We accept it as we release this knowing to this infinite mind that only knows to say yes. It only knows to say yes to all that we see. We are the manifestors of greatness, of goodness, of expectations of joy, health, success, and happiness. We see it done. We see it done right here and right now. And it is in that knowing, as we dance together into this new year, as we, in the thankfulness, we say, thank you, God, for all that is and all that is yet to be. We seal that by saying together, and so it is. Thank you for being such a beautiful part of my life, such an amazing part of this center. Thank you for all that is and all that is yet to be. Know how much you're loved, and so it is.